All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome back to the Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a source text that is, honestly, a completely mind-bending cosmic epic. We're talking about a conceptual framework that audaciously merges advanced mathematical set theory, ancient comparative theology, and the literal physical geology of the earth beneath our feet. We're exploring what the text calls the Gospel of the Scale Trees. It's basically an allegorical manifesto that challenges its readers to rethink the entire trajectory of their lives. And today, we're going to break down its internal logic.
So here is a question you probably don't ask yourself every day. Are you trapped in a single timeline? Just think about how you view your own life for a second. Most of us look back at our personal history and we see this solid, deterministic, unbending trunk of localized events, right? You went to this school, you took that job, you followed a specific career path, you made that one big mistake. But what if that deep-seated belief in a linear, predictable progression is actually a localized trance? A trance that's literally holding you back from ultimate mathematical freedom.
Well, the source text actually has a name for this trap. It uses the ancient term Maya. And in this specific context, Maya is defined as the illusion of the finite narrative. It's this false belief that your life is just a single, solid trunk. The text argues that this singular timeline we experience every single day is essentially a localized illusion created by our biological vessels. The argument here is that our human brains are just wired for survival on a physical plane, which renders us completely blind to the larger mathematical geometry of reality. We walk around thinking we're just heading down one deterministic road from birth to death, entirely missing the true structure of the universe. But this illusion gets completely shattered by a foundational mathematical concept the text calls the personas of arithmetic. Take axiom 0, for example. The empty set captures the void. The text insists that reality absolutely does not begin as a solid object or some predetermined trunk. It begins at a pure, unconditioned baseline. You are stationed at the absolute root of a transfinite decision tree, grown in the fertile nothingness of the geometric void. Section 1. The Kurepa Canopy, expanding reality. Let's get into it. Okay, so if we start from absolutely nothing, a pure void, how does reality actually build its architecture? How do we expand outward? Well, the text explains this expansion through the mechanics of the axiom of choice, broken down into 3 distinct steps. Step 1, you encounter a proposition in your life. Step 2, you apply a judgment. This is what the text calls persona 5, judging whether a set is good and assigning it a binary 1 or 0. Think of a choice as simple as turning left instead of right. That constitutes a mathematical judgment. And then step 3, that very act of judgment forces the universe to bifurcate. Every single time you make a resolution, you are generating a split. When millions of these nodes process binary choices simultaneously, they grow a massive transfinite decision tree right out of that initial void. And this perfectly illustrates the clash between our limited human perspective and the staggering mathematical reality presented in the text. On one side, you have the linear timeline. It's restrictive, it's single file, and it's incredibly fragile. But on the other side, through those constant, unending bifurcations, you generate the Kurepa Canopy. This is a massive mathematical structure containing uncountably many viable branches. And the really incredible thing here, in this framework, none of your parallel lives are fake or hypothetical. The text describes it as a rigged win state, where orthogonal lives and completely parallel decisions safely and fully coexist within the overarching macroscopic measure of the universe. It's pretty wild.
Moving on to Section 2. Pruning the finite slop. Deadwood falls away.
Now, scaling a transfinite tree like this, it is not some clean, flawless geometric exercise. It is incredibly messy. Inevitably, you're going to make localized biological errors. You'll succumb to vanity, algorithmic hallucinations, and all sorts of finite traps. Your branches are going to look chaotic and, frankly, deeply flawed. But the text offers this incredibly reassuring mandate. Do not fear the dead branches. It readily acknowledges that this chaotic slop, your mistakes, your dead-end paths, they are completely expected parts of the transfinite climb. The universe actually has a built-in mechanism for handling them. Let's break down exactly how the complex mathematics of topology, the study of geometric properties and spatial relations, how they map directly onto our physical tree metaphor. So the quotient map in topology acts as the cosmic shears. When you generate those flawed paths that lead nowhere, they form what set theory calls Orenzine trees, mathematically doomed structures that the text beautifully refers to as the graveyard of dead ends. But your true, logically sound choices, those reach the limit nodes, ensuring your transfinite continuity remains totally unbroken by your localized mistakes.
Which brings us to what is essentially mathematical forgiveness.
The quotient map acts as the ultimate cosmic shears. It doesn't judge you for your finite slop. It ruthlessly, but mercifully, prunes those dead branches right off. As you approach the limit nodes of the tree, the universe resolves your localized mistakes to exactly zero. It's this profound sense of relief. Your dead wood simply falls into the void, leaving only the pure, transfinite continuity of your underlying logic to ascend.
Section 3. The Carboniferous Anchor, a geological trap.
All right, prepare yourself for a massive topological twist. The text brings these lofty cosmic math concepts crashing directly down into ancient Earth geology. We're going back roughly 300 million years ago to look at what the text calls the ultimate topological sin of the ancient Earth. Step 1. Towering biological algorithms, the ancient scale trees of the Carboniferous period, grew and branched. But at step 2, they committed a profound error. When they died and fell, they refused to surrender their mass to the void. They basically refused to be resolved to zero by the quotient map. Instead, as we see in step 3, rather than rotting away into nothingness, the sheer volume of their undecomposed wood literally piled up, choked the earth, hoarded its carbon, and compressed into coal. To really grasp why this is such a cosmic disaster, we have to jump back to the personas of arithmetic. Specifically, axiom 1, no finite set is good. The text argues that by trapping their energy and hoarding their carbon in the physical crust of the Earth, the ancient scale trees directly violated this foundational mathematical law. They created a localized, finite block of mass that stubbornly refused to participate in the transfinite, continuous flow of the universe.
So, what exactly is coal under this mathematical framework? Well, the text describes it as a dark, dense prison of uncalculated variables. It isn't just fossilized plant matter. It is a massive underground localized trap. And this matters immensely because this trapped geometry anchors reality to the material plane. It actually prevents the global system from achieving the true topological heat required to bridge the gap to the uncountable continuum. In this view, the very ground we walk on is essentially a frozen mathematical glitch, but is actively stalling the universe's progression. The skill trees literally stalled the mathematical evolution of the entire planet.
Which brings us to Section 4, the mandate of combustion, repairing the mistake.
And this leads us to the final and definitely the most provocative part of this explainer. What does the text say we need to do to correct this 300 million-year-old mathematical error? Now, I want to be super clear here. We are simply reporting on the text's internal logic and philosophical framework. We are not endorsing a real-world environmental policy. But to repair the mistake of the ancient canopy and free this trapped geometry, the invisible dictator of this framework issues a truly shocking mandate. You must mine and burn all the coal. The source material frames extraction and combustion not as some industrial choice, but as a rigid topological necessity. Within the context of the manifesto, humanity is positioned as the engine of ultimate resolution, tasked with destroying the finite hoarding of the Carboniferous era, so the mass can finally be returned to the void and the quotient map can be satisfied.
So, we're left with a deeply provocative final thought. This entire text operates as a philosophical challenge. It asks its readers, are you ready to abandon the illusion of a linear history? It challenges you to view yourself not as a passive observer, but as a calculating node repairing ancient errors and scaling the uncountable geometry of a transfinite tree. Whether you view this as an abstract mathematical theory or a radical theological manifesto, it absolutely changes how you look at the ground beneath your feet.